This isn't left, and this isn't right. This is Off the Record Canada. In a world where echo chambers shout louder than the truth, where mobs cancelled before they are questioned, and where opinions are more about teams than thinking, we're breaking the cycle. Here, we don't debate to win, we ask to understand, using the power of Spectrum Street epistemology. We're hitting the pause on the noise, peeling back the layers of unbelief, and asking, why do we think the way we do? This is the spot for the curious to unravel what is going on behind the scenes, the ones who feel stuck between extremes. We are here to break that group polarization because we know the truth is always somewhere in the middle. Welcome to the conversation you didn't know you needed. This is Off the Record.
Welcome to Off the Record Canada. So today I'm covering about the Notwithstanding Act. So Section 33 is about basically the governing to govern the people. So who we choose really depends on who controls this very power, which can be great in its own right, and it can be bad in its own right. It really depends on who's using it. And with this section, as I mentioned before, it covers Section 2, 7 to 15. So not 3 to 6, but 7 to 15 and Section 2. So I won't read over every one of them because I've covered that in the previous one. But what it is basically the governing can choose whether or not to basically kind of shut off one of the rights temporarily, or kind of put a bill in place to kind of temporarily to shut it off for the purpose of for the people, for a reason or for a purpose. Like we can have examples like COVID or whatever, or situations with this teacher strike or whatever it could be. It doesn't matter. And when this was implemented, when it first started, was 1982. That's when it was officially put into place, and it has its own beauty and its own blessing behind it, because it's because certain situations are call for it. That's when you can use it, or situations that actually really need it, because sometimes the political people cannot control certain things like COVID and use it for the purposes to help protect the people from situations where it is needed to be helping the people, because the people can't really say, hey, let's put in something in place. That's why the governing is there, for the purpose to control that, and using this valve to turn it off if they really need it. So when it is implemented, the bill is implemented or it is being proposed and passed, it has a year time period of 5 years. So it goes on for 5 years. So after the 5 years, it will naturally expire. But there is a possibility that, let's say that, the Carney government right now, has it that implements something like right now, and when it ends after 5 years, like during that 5 year period, a new government takes over, whether green or whatever. They come in to play, and they can say, hey, I don't want this bill in here. They can remove it. But there is a possibility that everyone else, let's say some of the Liberal Party might say, hey, I still want to keep it, or the Conservatives or whatever want to keep it still. It could still not be not be repealed, but it's up to whether the governing want to repeal it or not. But regardless of the thought, it will be repealed after the 5 years, or it will expire. So after that 5 years, or close to that 5 years, if the governing or like Mark Carney is still in for another term, he can propose for an extension of that same bill. so it can be reused again. Now, we've talked about this. We now understand that how it works. You can repeal it, or you can keep it, or the other group, or whoever we choose. Because, for example, we have people that may not like this certain bill, and we choose a certain group to help repeal that bill because we don't like it. Or the bill might stay there because we do like it. Let's say, for instance, recently we had with the teacher strike. They have a bill that came in. They actually did the Notwithstanding Act. And I spoke to a teacher, and they didn't like it. They didn't like that they used it. And this is one of the big problems of using the Notwithstanding Act. Because Notwithstanding Act has a kind of, well, it's against our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It goes against it. We want to have our freedoms. We want to keep them. We want to have them we want to feel free. We don't want to be impeded on. We want to not be pushed against when we want our freedoms. But situations where the teachers want to expression of freedom. So they want to express how they feel, that they don't like what they've been offered or what they have right now. And that's right now we have the Conservative government right now. And they said, hey, we want you guys to go back to school. So they passed a certain Notwithstanding Act. And now the teachers are outraged. And now there's opportunities whether or not the people want to remove it or keep it. It's up to whoever is in power. If the government comes back as the Conservatives, then it will stay. Or it will just be repealed before then. Like even any group can even repeal it even during the period of them being governing. So that's how the Notwithstanding Act works. It can be repealed at any time. It doesn't matter. Like even if Danielle Smith, is still governing, and you got some liberal parties or NDP might say, hey, I want to get rid of it during her period. They can repeal it regardless. It doesn't matter. It's about who accepts it and who rejects it. It's not limited to one group or one time period. It's only limited to who allows it and who will remove it. So So the biggest importance is that Notwithstanding Act has the ability to be turned on and off when the time is required or when it's needed. Like COVID, where there were situations where we couldn't assemble and stuff like that. So there was reasons, and that was for the safety of the people. So it was turned on for the purpose. So notwithstanding the Charter Rights and Freedoms of Assembly, it was turned on. So that's why it's important we have this this thing. Now, we've had some groups. I've heard someone saying, we need less guardrails. I've heard someone else saying, well, actually, we should just get rid of it entirely. It's ridiculous. It's just too powerful, because no one should have that much power over our rights and freedoms, because and I can understand both sides. I can understand entirely that it is a pretty powerful tool, because on one hand, one might say that because one was a teacher, for example, is like, I don't like this because I have no control and no say in what I can do, because they can just turn me off and say, hey, go back to school. And another hand saying, well, actually, this is really good, like COVID, where it was really needed, or it was something that is necessary where it was needed for that very reason, because it was certain circumstances. That's why it's so hard to say whether it's why we need more guardrails or more if we actually need it. At the end of the day, I see it as a tool to be used for the right purposes, so long as it's been used by the right hands. And now we also had an experience recently. Recently, the Supreme Court ruled against having the minimum of a year for possession of underage photos and dispersing them or even having them, and they have changed it so they don't have the minimum anymore, and they're reducing it. And right now it's becoming really ridiculous but it's something not okay. It is honestly is terrible and disgusting. And I think that something we need to be more careful of, because recently we had Danielle Smith try to implement the Section 33 actually, and try to use it in favor, and try to actually block what they ruled. And so right now they're planning to make it so that so Alberta is saying no to what the Supreme Court wants, but with the Notwithstanding Act they weren't able to pass it, but they're still trying to work through this situation right now. But the biggest thing is that this thing is grossly ugly and something that should never be messed with and touched, because it's really disgusting as is and perverse. In the situation in the first place, like they're talking about that it's not unconstitutional for the predators to have these or even own them in the first place, or even just be charged for that matter. But it's very unconstitutional that minors had to be susceptible to such a thing in the first place. It goes both ways. Was it right that the minor had to be subjected through that? And is it right that, they have to, have that shame on the internet for everyone to see? And who's more more like kind of been hurt in the situation? Is it the one who's owning it, or the one who's been dispersed of, the one that's been published about? It is more disgusting to the one that is being posted about, and it should never be right in any kind of degree, it should be even worse. Like, I think they shouldn't, prop up or, decrease or whatever. But they say that the judges are able to decide, but I still stand by the idea that it shouldn't be changed regardless. It shouldn't be changed. It shouldn't be amended. It should be nothing. It should be just the way it was before. Leave it as it was. Well enough. Leave well enough alone. So they're planning to amend Section 33. Section 33 is being planned to be amended by the government, which is Mark Carney. He's planning to change it. I don't know how, don't know where, or what he's doing exactly, but we'll see what happens. But the amendment may be a bad thing or a good thing, and I'm hoping for the benefit of the doubt that it's that they will leave it alone. I just hope that they just leave it alone and just it doesn't get passed. Nothing happens. That's what I'm hoping. Nothing changes. Just leave it. So they're planning to change it, and if they change it in such a way that may increase the duration, because right now it's 5 years. If they change it where it may increase to 10 years, or they may just take it off entirely where there's no time period, that makes it so it's a permanent thing. That means that it's kind of like any other bill that the government may pass, where it's like, you know what, that's the bill, that's what it is. Now we're just going to throw Notwithstanding Act as a label. It will cause public outrage, or possibly just simply stay permanent. The important thing is that, relating this to something, I don't know if anyone knows this, but Animal Farm. You think about this, Animal Farm. What happened in Animal Farm? Animal Farm, they had the pigs. The pigs the animals had a set of rules, and what happened over time, they kind of just changed, lines on the barn, changing. Okay, there was, don't sleep in a bed, but then the pig said without sheets.
This house spread quickly through Animal Farm. Some of the animals thought they remembered a law against beds, but obviously they were mistaken.
than like or killing somebody without cause. You know, over a period of time, over time, they changed it. And what the animal farm they saw as normal and seemed right, everyone saw it was right, it became authoritarian. And that's where the ugly comes from, this bill, or this section, sorry. Section 33 can turn into such an ugly thing if you just change it just a little bit, you know, where it has no limit. So with Section 33, they can, you know, they can turn it off whenever they want. You know, that, you know, they can, even though you can get a new government and they can turn it off whenever they want, but it has to be passed. It has to be passed no matter what. So the repeal has to be repealed. So if they pass a bill, someone has to repeal it. And there's no guarantee that it will be repealed. And if there is no limit, then it could never be it may never be repealed, or maybe it will be repealed. But the fact is that it shouldn't have to be repealed if there was a limitation. That's why it's important to keep things the way they are. Keeping it at 5 years, you know, that's fine. Just leave it alone. You know. And, you know, as one of our friends said in SATE, that we don't need more guardrails because, you know, it can be an important tool to be used for the better, for the good, for everybody. That's why we really need it. But at the same time, you know, there are some they may disagree that we don't need it at all. At the end of the day, Section 33 is a tool for the governing, not for the people. Who we choose and what we choose, it decides who holds that. Who holds that sword, whether it be for the right of justice or for against the people. It's up to whoever holds it. And for the hope, it's held for the justice of the people. So that's all for now for Off the Record. So, you know, feel free to follow us on our Instagram or our TikTok. You know, we love for you guys to talk to us and reach out to us. You know, we would love to speak to you about discussions or even visit you at your university or college. You know, we go around and we talk to people about bills and everything else. But yeah, talk to us and reach out to us whenever you need. And we'll love to talk to you and respond back. Take care, guys.
All right, that's where we'll wrap things up for episode 6 of Off the Record Canada. Today we dug into Section 33, the Notwithstanding Clause, and how it's been used here in Alberta and really within Canada. We looked at what it is, why it exists, and why it sparks so much debate no matter which side of the aisle you're on. And yeah, we took a detour through Animal Farm. When rules change or can be changed, it's important to pay attention. In any society, the real question isn't whether rules shift, but who gets to shift them, how clearly they're explained, and whether all of us stay informed enough to notice. Because, like Animal Farm, we actually want to get a say in our lives. Staying aware, asking questions, and understanding how our system works is how we keep things healthy. Now, moving forward for Off the Record, I wanted to highlight some things. Upcoming episodes, we will be taking a step back from policies and bills for a little bit because we are drawing our attention to real stories within Canada that have to do with a very serious nature that is not talked about enough. And that is why we want to bring attention to this. and that is regarding human trafficking and specifically child trafficking. We will be taking a step back from policies to focus on this because it is so connected to politics more than people realize. So we will be focusing in on that from here on out on Off the Record. Thanks for listening, thanks for thinking, and thanks for staying curious. This is Off the Record Canada. We'll see you next time in episode 7, where we take steps to unraveling more about child trafficking. Stay curious, guys.
This pain is breaking me. This world is taking me. And in these eyes lies a hero. The faintest heartbeat, it echoes a shadow of hope beyond these walls. Signs of a hero, like the fall of the rain, as it washes over. The world's born again. When the waves come crashing in, we will not back down. And when the lights start growing dim, we will stand our ground. It's what we prayed for. It's what we prayed for. It's what we prayed for. The time's come to rain.